Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Moving Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. Someday this will be the podcast where we watch Muppet movies 2 minutes at a time and talk about them a lot. But we're back for one last bonus episode before we start Muppet Christmas Carol. Today we are talking about The Muppets Celebrate Jim Henson. I'm your host, Anthony Strand.
I'm your other host, Ryan Rowe.
Today we're joined by our pal, your pal, a guy with the same initials as Jim Henson. Who is it?
It's me, not Jim Henson, but I'm Joe Hennes.
Wait.
I am co-owner and editor-in-chief of toughpigs.com, and I am very excited to celebrate the Muppets, who are in turn celebrating Jim Henson.
You're not Josh Hartnett?
Not today.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay.
Does Josh Hartnett's middle name start with M though? Like you and Jim Henson?
Oh, I have no idea.
That's true. And
that's
also,
the thing, Joe, JMH. They match all three.
That's
Love
right.
That.
Everyone's just going to have to guess what my middle name is. But my last name is surprisingly similar to Henson. If you just kind of swap a few of the letters around and, they just sound similar, which I always thought was kind of neat, but not neat enough to earn me any money or anything.
You could mispronounce it the same way if you rearrange the letters.
Yeah, if anyone wants to mispronounce my name that way, I am totally for it. Any other way, I don't care for it. I won't stand for it.
Good.
No one has ever mispronounced my last name. All right, so today we are talking about The Muppets Celebrate Jim Henson, a special which aired on November 21st, 1990, about 6 months after Jim Henson died.
I also want to note that this special, the night that it aired, it preempted the regular airing of the series Jake and the Fat Man. So this was an important night for Jim Henson fans, but probably a disappointing night for William Conrad fans.
Fortunately for them, they could watch canon reruns on WGN. All right, so we're talking about The Muppets Celebrate Jim Henson. This is kind of the first special we've talked about that I actually watched when it aired. I was almost 6 when this aired. Did you guys both watch it? Do you remember?
I'm relatively sure that we did. I would have been 8, almost 9 years old. And I don't really remember, to be perfectly honest, but I don't know where else I would have seen this. I definitely saw it as a young human being.
Yeah, I definitely watched this the first time it aired, and my family taped it, so I was able to go back and rewatch it and revisit it. And I actually have this memory of my mom telling me the week that it aired, she was talking to my grandmother on the phone, and they got to talking about the special, and my grandma said something like, "Oh, did all of you watch the special, even Ryan?" Because for some reason she thought that maybe I had outgrown the Muppets, but then, of course, my mom was like, yeah, we all watched it, especially Ryan.
Right.
Like, Ryan's watched
Ryan,
it 3
have you outgrown the Muppets yet?
Yeah.
I have a distinct memory of a few years later, probably in elementary, like 3rd or 4th grade, describing this to a friend and saying that it was about all of the Muppets going to Jim Henson's funeral.
Oh.
So that shows you how
it's about as close as you'll get to that. Mm-hmm.
Right. But I also may have seen news coverage of the memorial service on TV or something.
Right. I could see how you could get them kind of muddled.
But yeah, so I would have turned 6 about a month after this. But then I don't know. I got it in a tape trade. I think I probably saw it again in high school.
Yeah. But that's interesting what you say about that it could have been about them going to his funeral. Because Anthony, you and I talked about this recently, that it's really, most of this special is not sad. It is, the word celebrate is in the title, and it really is a celebration of Jim Henson and his entire career, rather than just let's all be sad because he died.
Right. There's about 10 sad minutes at the end.
Yeah.
And the rest is
this is something that I feel like we end up talking about, once a year, on the anniversary or near the anniversary of Jim's death, that social media is completely inundated with people who are being like, "Oh my God, Jim Henson, I miss you." And it's never been the same since. And just these really sad posts. And it's like, well, I think Jim would have wanted us to celebrate his work in life. And it's one thing we all feel very sad that he's gone. But we spend a lot of energy feeling sad, and we don't have to, we can be a little sad and mostly celebratory. And I feel like, considering how close to his death this special came, it's about as much as we were going to get. I mean, that's probably more than any other special would have given to a celebrity to celebrate their life and not just mourn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really striking that they pulled this together within about 6 months after he passed away, because it must have been, I don't know, it must have been a very difficult special to make, and especially without him there as kind of the leader.
Right. Well, so before we get into the actual content of the special, I wanted to talk about the set of this thing, because they built a new, essentially Muppet Theater backstage for this special. And it's kind of a hybrid of the Muppet Theater and the Muppet Television from the Jim Henson Hour, because it has all these monitors. There's like a wall full of monitors, right, which we see Fozzie walk past right at the start. And then the Muppet Theater has like a very Muppet Theater-esque backstage, but like there's like a wrought iron staircase instead of the regular staircase, and there's just like a piano sitting out backstage, and there's a ladder going up to a third level that we never see.
Yeah.
The doors have like a bunch of photos and a dartboard on them. I don't know. I just think it's really cool looking.
It is a very cool
bummer
set.
They never used it again.
Yeah, I do love the monitors. I love that it's kind of a continuation of what they were doing on the Jim Henson Hour, combined with what we were all familiar with from the Muppet Show. And it's like, it does look like backstage, but we never see a stage. Like, even when they're talking about putting together this tribute number, it's like, we don't know, is there a stage that we just never see in the special, or are they just planning on putting on this number backstage the whole time?
There's a few moments coming up. We could talk about them as they come up, of like how weird it is that they have no stage to play with.
Right.
But it's also a weird thing where, not that we should be thinking about Muppet continuity, but here we are on a podcast talking about Muppet continuity.
But also, you love to talk about Muppet continuity.
There is no Muppet continuity.
I do love to talk about Muppet continuity. And here I am. Of course, there's no Muppet continuity, but maybe there is. And let me explain it to you. It's like, we had the Muppet Show. We know what the Muppet Show backstage looks like intimately. And then cut to, the early 2000s when we have, the Weezer music video. We have like It's a Very Merry Muppet Christmas. We have like later on the 2011 Muppet movie. Like, we see the same backstage, or at least something that's really similar to that backstage. So here, I think we're supposed to assume it's the Muppet Show backstage that's been updated with TV screens, because it also still has that second level to it with like the balcony thing that characters can kind of like pop their heads over,
and it looks like there's dressing rooms.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like this weird amorphous. Maybe it's like the inside of the TARDIS, where it's kind of the same thing, but it just kind of changes the way it looks just a little bit every few years. And then later on, it kind of goes back to like the retro look for the old school fans. You know what I mean?
And like the TARDIS, we can assume that there's more of it that we just never see.
Right.
It's definitely bigger on the inside.
Like maybe the canteen is still there. Who knows?
And like, there's a lot of dressing rooms, and we only ever see 3 doors. I mean, come on.
Right.
Well, and we also never see anyone exit left from the stage. Like, backstage, you go right onto the stage, right? Like, you go right off the stage. You're in the backstage set that we know.
On the Muppet Show,
on the Muppet Show. Everyone enters from the right when they're coming from the stage.
Right.
So presumably there's something off stage left as well, but we never see it once in 5 seasons.
Well, that was why our good friend Scott Hansen, who's one of the admins at the Muppet Wiki, before the Muppet Wiki, his website was Backstage Left.
Yeah.
Because that was the other side of, remember that? Backstage Left was the other side of the Muppet Show stage. What's over there? It's Scott's website.
So that's where Scott uploaded the audio files of Muppet Family Christmas that I mentioned so many times during that season.
They're still over there.
That's where they are. That's what's over there. It's just audio files from old Muppet specials.
The notes on Muppet Wiki about this special say that there's one of the monitors that's showing an overhead view of the set where you can see the puppeteers. I looked for it. I think I identified it, but it's in black and white and it's kind of blurry, but you can see movement on this monitor that seems to match what the puppets are doing on screen. So that's kind of cool.
That is cool. I tried to pay attention to what was on those screens. Unfortunately, the version I was watching was pretty blurry, so I couldn't see most of them. I did spot some shots from The Cube, Jim Henson's short film, and I saw some like old Ed Sullivan stuff.
There's some behind the scenes clips of Labyrinth, and then just kind of like scenes from The Dark Crystal and The Storyteller.
That's cool. You know what it made me think of a bit is the Museum of the Moving Image, which has a wall of like as you exit, it's just got like a bunch of monitors. Excuse me, when you exit the Jim Henson exhibit, not the whole museum,
Right.
It's got all these monitors that are just showing like clips of like Muppets doing stuff and photos and, you know, like things from all throughout Jim Henson's career and his legacy and whatever. And yeah, just kind of made me think of that, of just like this little sampling of everything that Jim did in different ways, what was on screen, what was behind the scenes, et cetera, you know. Yeah, but you know, on the backstage of a Muppet show and not the exit of a museum.
Yeah, I like that. It is very similar. My only other note about this set is I wasn't able to verify this, but do you guys know, was this filmed or taped at the Henson Company Carriage House in New York City?
You and I have been told that, Ryan.
Okay, I was trying to remember where I heard that.
Yeah, I think Craig Shemin told us that, and don't quote me, but I think that is where we got that bit of information.
So that's a space that they've used for a bunch of photo shoots over the years, and Wobulous World of Dr. Seuss was taped there, and I'm sure a few other productions. So that's it. I don't know. It kind of seems fitting that they use an actual Henson property to tape this.
It also, you know, if you've ever seen how large that space is, it's actually really small. It's a small stage. And so it explains why all we get is wall to wall. Like they probably used every inch of that stage for that Muppet Show set. Yeah. And like, you know, because that's all you get is just this much. I did notice one other very small, interesting thing in the background of this set, which was a framed picture of the TV Guide cover with Kermit and Fozzie, where it looks like Kermit is kind of like introducing Fozzie through the red curtain.
That's from like when the Muppet Show premiered?
Yeah. That would have been mid-70s.
Yeah, that's
late
neat.
70s. Yeah, that was a cool one.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so getting into the actual content of the special itself, we start with Fozzie, who says that they need to prepare a big production number, but he doesn't remember what it's for. And then New Zealand comes rushing in and says it might be for one of his fish, his first fish, Connie Sue, and then he throws a fish and it flies back and hits Fozzie in the face.
Off to a great start.
Great start. And it's so nice to see Lou because he wasn't in Muppet Vision 3D, the last thing we did.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. And if I was thinking about, you know, if this was Connie Sue was the first fish that he ever threw, and the first time we ever saw New Zealand was in 1978. That means that fish is over 12 years old at this point.
Imagine how it smells.
No wonder Fozzie didn't want to take a fish to the face.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Also, Fozzie says that the big tribute number is happening at 8:45 on Wednesday, which is pretty close to when the tribute actually happens, because the special aired on a Wednesday and the tribute happens in the last 15 minutes of it. So, yeah, that's a nice touch.
But he didn't say 7:45 Central.
No, he should have.
He should have. You're darn right. He should have. Too bad he didn't say on this week's episode of the TV series Wednesday 8:30, 7:30 Central, which was an actual TV series.
But then they had to change the title because it moved to a different night of the week.
Different time slots. So
we have talked about this on this podcast
I think,
before.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I think
just cut it. Just chop it.
I think the three of us talked about it.
This is what people want to hear about, though.
Chop it out. Too late. We already talked about it. It's in.
This is all staying in.
All right. Anyways, so what happens? Right after Fozzie says he doesn't know what the tribute is for, then he gets a postcard from Kermit asking him to prepare the tribute to Jim Henson. And that then is the premise of the special, that the Muppets spend the hour trying to figure out who Jim Henson is. And
I thought you were going to say the premise of the special is Fozzie Bear receives mail.
It kind of is, though, too. You're right.
That's kind of how it ends, too.
Well, the emotional climax of this special is Fozzie Bear finds a folder under the desk.
That's true. Yeah, spoilers.
Strange but true. That is what happens. But when the postcard arrives, everybody kind of has one character. All the puppeteers have one character in the room, kind of, which I think is fun. It's Frank is playing Fozzie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dave Goelz is playing Gonzo. Steve Whitmire's playing Rizzo. Richard Hunt is playing Scooter. This is Richard Hunt's last performance with the Muppets, essentially.
Yeah, this is kind of an unusual, it is. It's just kind of striking to see Richard Hunt and Scooter in the special, and then knowing that, it's a memorial to Jim Henson, whom they had just lost, and just knowing that Richard Hunt would be gone within a year and a half of this.
Right. Well,
and it really is tragic that we didn't get like a few years later, like if there had been a few more years between the two of them passing, like we would have gotten the Muppets Celebrate Richard Hunt, right? Like I feel like that could have happened.
Maybe, but nobody knew who that was.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if the general audience would have watched that.
I don't think that's a network TV special. I truly don't. I think
you may be right.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna imagine what that would look like anyway. For a minute.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna think about
that. It'd be great.
That'd be pretty good. I'd watch that. Yeah.
And speaking of brief, the new Jim Henson Hour character Clifford is part of the gang here, and that's Kevin Clash, of course. And then fittingly, Jerry Nelson, the man of 1,000 voices, has two characters in this scene: New Zealand and Robin. Jerry Nelson is the only one who gets to double up. Which I
was ready to correct you when you said that everyone had one character. I was ready to jump in, be like, "Excuse me, Robin's there too."
Excuse me, Jerry Nelson has two characters. Kermit's nephew Robin, which I do like that Kermit, who's apparently his sister or whoever, has just left Robin with him. He just leaves Robin with his irresponsible friends and goes out of town.
Yeah, I guess that's just what happens.
Yeah.
But then, having established that they're going to find out who Jim Henson is, the Muppets all go over to a monitor to watch the special that they're currently starring in, because the title comes up on screen on the monitor.
Yeah. It's also, they kind of have to not know who Jim Henson is in order for this special to have any sort of an arc. But apparently all the Muppets have forgotten that just 3 years ago, they sang an entire song about Jim Henson when he was inducted in the Television Academy Hall of Fame.
They have also apparently, like, if since you're Mr. Continuity all of a sudden, Ryan, they have also forgotten that a year ago on the Jim Henson Hour, year and a half ago, they did this same bit where Jim Henson like introduced the puppeteers one by one. And the puppets all freak out about like having puppeteers on the Secrets of the Muppets episode.
Yeah, it's true.
And like Kermit talked to Jim in their presence all the time on that show.
That's also true. Yeah, none of it matters.
I wanted to add two things before we get to the monitor bit. Number one is it really threw me off for some reason that Rizzo is naked, and I was trying to figure out why. No, number one, like this does come after Muppets Take Manhattan. Like he has an outfit that he could be wearing. This is like well after the Muppet Show, and number two, it's that this is the newer Rizzo build, which was, I assume, built for Muppets Take Manhattan, updated from his Muppet Show look. And I don't know. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we've seen that build of Rizzo without clothes at this point. So it just seems really odd that he's not wearing anything.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it is. That it's the modern Rizzo, but we haven't seen it. I think before or since, I don't think we've ever seen him naked.
Only in my dreams.
Even though we do see other Muppet Rats without clothing. It's just like that.
All the time.
It's one of the things that sets Rizzo apart is that he wears, stylish clothes.
But all the rats with names have worn clothes, right? Like all the ones in Manhattan and in Muppets from Space, they're all wearing clothes, right? Aren't they?
Probably, yeah.
I think so. I don't know. We'll see.
The other thing is, just before the Muppets look on the screen and see this logo pop up, there's a countdown with the Fraggle Rock characters.
That's great.
Which I thought was cool. Do you have any idea what those are from? It looks like it was made for something they're just repurposing here.
Oh, I don't know. I assumed they made it for this, but yeah, that's it. I would be curious to know.
Yeah, it seemed like, I don't know, like it was in a storybook, or maybe they used it internally at Fraggle Rock when they were filming, or for their countdowns or something. I don't know. It just had such a specific look. Like they wouldn't have like gotten these characters out for a photo shoot just for this. So like those pictures must have been used for something. But I don't know what.
You're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we come back from commercial. Robin, Kermit's nephew, which I think is very appropriate, that Robin's the one who says, "Hey, I remember this Jim Henson guy. He was always hanging around." And then he says down there, they all look down at their puppeteers and see that they have puppeteers and freak out about it for a little bit. Gonzo says, "When we move, they move," and they all hop around. And then Fozzie says it's just too weird. And then we get the first emotional moment of the special when Robin says Jim Henson was always watching us and having a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
it's lovely.
It's perfect for Robin to have such a large role in this special because he's the guy that you give that kind of line to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. He can get away with that kind of line.
Yeah. Right.
And it's weird, as you said. It's weird that like we just saw the characters acknowledge their puppeteers like a year earlier in Jim Henson Hour or 2 years earlier.
Although like having said that didn't air in the U.S. until 1992. Now that I'm thinking about it,
yeah, that's true.
That one aired on Nickelodeon for the first time. Yeah.
The thing that I found genuinely surprising though was this feels like the kind of revelation that would come closer to the end of the special, like. Right off the bat, we are acknowledging not only that Jim Henson was a puppeteer and that the characters know that he was a puppeteer, but that they are acknowledging that they are themselves puppets.
Right.
Like Act 1.
Yeah.
You know, that seems
kind
like
of
that comes way later.
In kind of a sly, funny way. Like they don't pull out to do a big wide shot of like a clear wide shot of all the puppeteers. Like at the end of the Muppet Show, Sex and Violence, it's still kind of
sure. Yeah.
If a little kid was watching this, they probably wouldn't even process what the characters were talking about.
Maybe that was the reason too.
Maybe,
or maybe that set was just so small they couldn't get the cameras back.
Yeah.
But so then, anyways, then we do go back to the monitor. We watch a bunch of clips of the Muppet Show gang. I am not planning to discuss the clips. I don't know if either of you have any like. There's so many clips, and there's so many. Like individual clip packages that I think we should just talk about. Like, this is the general overview of the clips. Unless you have something specific to say about any of them, obviously jump in. But I'm not planning to go through and say, then we see Happy Feet. Then we see,
I get around
or whatever. Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that we can hear the Muppets commenting on some of the clips as they pop up.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
My favorite of which is when they say, "There's Miss," I think Scooter says, "There's Miss Piggy in the movie, the Great Muppet Caper."
Except he emphasizes Muppet. He says the Great Muppet Caper.
The Great Muppet Caper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like when they see themselves as babies, and I can't remember who says it, but they're like, "There's us as babies." It's like, yes, we know. You don't have to tell us.
It is kind of.
We can tell.
Yeah, I guess they're just kind of ad-libbing all this stuff, but it's It's fun. And then when they show the clips from the Muppets at Walt Disney World, Fozzie says, "There we are at Disney World."
Yeah, which by the way, that had just aired again 6 months earlier.
Yeah.
Like that was basically brand new.
Right.
But what I thought was funny is that first montage is all Muppet Show stuff, except there's one clip from Fraggle Rock.
I wrote that down as well.
It's not a Muppet Show, but it's like the Muppet Show gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like right, because I expected for like the first big thing, which I think we talked about this in the Muppets Celebrate 30 Years, is like right off the bat, it's like, okay, we're going to show you some Muppet Show, we're going to show you some Sesame Street, we're going to show you some Fraggle Rock, we're going to show you some of the fantasy films, and then later on we'll do proper spotlights. But like the first thing, the overture is look at all this great stuff, and here you get Muppet Show characters and like a tease that there's more. Like I'm genuinely surprised that they didn't put in some Sesame and some Labyrinth and stuff just to be like hang tight. There's going to be more of this stuff later.
Yeah, here's everything. Yeah. But we do get another montage almost immediately, and this one is introduced by our first special guest star, Carol Burnett. And what is interesting to me is all of the guests on this, except for one, worked with the Muppets. Steven Spielberg being the one. And several of them, including Carol Burnett, appear in the montages that they introduce, which I really like. And she talks about how the Muppets are like a family. And then in a very good joke, I think the Muppets start bickering about whether or not that's true, which leads to Gonzo strangling Robin and yelling, "We are not like a family." and
Robin. Carol, I've never seen Robin get strangled before. I don't think I like it.
Oh, no? I thought it was funny.
He's just a little guy, Anthony. Just a little guy.
Buddy. That's true. So is Bart Simpson. I never heard you complain about that.
Why, you little?
All right. Anyway.
Well, yeah, but he deserved it.
Yeah, there you go.
He's
hooligan,
an achiever and proud of it.
Yes, there you go. Eat my shorts. All right. But anyways, also a very Jim Henson Hour-esque moment. Carol on the monitor.
Yeah, the whole thing with the guests just appearing on the monitors is very Jim Henson Hour. And the fact that the Muppets can communicate with them through the monitors.
Right. Yeah.
Which also makes me wonder, though, if they're trying so hard to figure out who Jim Henson is, why don't they just ask these celebrities who are magically appearing on the monitors?
But the celebrities are being very oblique, right? It's like the Muppet Show was a family.
Yeah. Hey, Carol Burnett, tell us more. We're trying to figure out about who this guy was.
But also, like, all these celebrities are showing up. They're not being asked a question. They're not like, "Oh, Carol Burnett, you're here. Can you tell us what's going on with this?"
Yeah.
It's just Carol Burnett shows up and she just starts talking as if it's a video. And I guess the joke is like the wink to "I can see you."
And the Muppets always seem sort of surprised by them. Like, "Oh, look, it's Carol Burnett."
Yeah, I would be surprised if I saw Carol Burnett.
I would say, hey, sorry that I didn't make it to your episode of Julie's Green Room because that show was mega boring. That's what I would say if I met Carol Burnett. I would not.
I loved you on Mad About You, Carol.
No, but here what she does do is she says guest stars were part of the family, whether they liked it or not. And what I think is fascinating is that then we see Carol herself, John Cleese, Dabney Coleman in Muppets Take Manhattan, and Charles Durning, all of whom are hating on the Muppets. Like, those are the four guest stars that we see.
Yeah.
2 Muppet Show guest stars, 2 movie villains, all being like, Muppets are bad. I hate being around them.
Well, yeah, she kind of transitions from, like, guest stars were in on the fun whether they liked it or not to, I don't know the exact quote, but it's something like the Muppets, when they needed to, the Muppets came together as a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then we see Rainbow Connection, which is the only time we hear Rainbow Connection in this special, is 11 minutes in, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
That it's not at the end.
If this were made today, that would absolutely be the final number.
Right.
And then we never heard Rainbow Connection again. Isn't that weird? It was the last time it was ever performed by anyone.
What a nice show of respect that they retired the song.
but as we discussed, though, it is the big finale in Celebration of 30 Years, 4 years earlier.
That's true, yes.
So I think that's probably why it isn't here.
Yeah. Can you imagine if the Muppets did that song more than once every 4 years?
You guys know what is?
I'm trying.
You know that you know that when Kermit sings that on TV, you can just not watch. I've heard Matt Vogel sing that song once because I just don't watch those clips. Who cares?
Anthony, we run a Muppet fan site. We actually have to watch it.
Well,
you don't have to watch them. If you just read what it is.
Here's my secret.
You don't have to.
I don't watch all of those appearances.
Yeah.
If we know in advance that they're just trotting out Rainbow Connection again, I've seen it. I've heard it.
Yeah. My favorite thing, Ryan, is imagining you as Mark Ruffalo in the Avengers, turning around and saying, "You want to know my secret? I don't watch Kermit sing Rainbow Connection anymore."
That's it. And then I turn into a giant green monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's an "it's not easy being green" here joke, but we can just move on. There's somewhere in there.
They've definitely made that in Hulk comics before, I'm sure.
Yes.
So, anyways, after that, we go back to the backstage. And Beauregard's bringing in costumes. That's kind of all we get of Beauregard. But
does he speak?
He just kind of says, "Oh, excuse me," or something like that.
Okay.
Or "Here they are." He says something just generic. But it's nice to see him. And then Fozzie worries that they don't know enough about Jim Henson to do a good job. Gonzo says he's going to go get whoopee cushions, which is going to pay off later. Stay tuned. And then Clifford throws to Bean Bunny to roll the Jim Henson biography film, which, on the one hand, why couldn't that just be on a monitor? But on the other hand, it's great to see Bean get this little featured part.
Yes, I had forgotten that this little moment with Bean was here, but it's funny.
Well, and it's interesting to me that, like, these are the 2 newest characters. Are these the only 2 new characters, like newish characters to the Muppet troupe in this special?
Yeah, like they were really the 2 holdovers from the Jim Henson hour that they were kind of trying to make part of the troupe now.
Exactly. So, like, this to me was like a deliberate effort. Right. This is a deliberate effort to, like, show, the Muppet, like, subtly to show the Muppets are going to go on. We've got these new characters. They're going to be doing new things. Look at that. They're even interacting with each other.
Right.
And, I don't know. We could talk more about that closer to the end about the promise for more things to come. But that's definitely what I got out of that.
Can you imagine, though, if Waldo was in this?
Yeah, I can. Because we just saw him in that other thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine what they would even have to do.
It would have been
Here comes
so
Waldo.
tasteless.
They're just like backstage. It's like, hey, Mr. Fauci, Jim Henson is the guy who puts on a show, and then he like grows like a ringmaster costume.
Yeah. Okay.
Awful.
Okay. Now I can
call him
imagine
some kind of clown. Is that what you're calling him, Waldo? You get out of here. That clown outfit.
So then, what happens next? Jerry Nelson narrates the biography of Jim Henson, which is really nice. Like we have all the celebrity guests introducing all the other clip montages, but Jim's early years, it's Jerry Nelson.
I always love to hear
He's
Jerry
got
Nelson
so many
as
characters.
an announcer. Yeah.
So many characters, that guy.
He does. And including he played the announcer on The Muppet Show most of the time.
True.
But in this one, he talks about Jim's early years, talks about his early TV shows. The Muppets all scoff when the narrator says that Jim made a puppet show.
Puppet show. Forget it.
Forget it. But
I like when
a moment later. Oh, sorry, go on.
I like when they show the early home movie clip of Jim, and you can hear Janice say, "Oh, like he's a little kid. How adorable."
Yeah, that's cute. Yeah. But then a minute later, he says, "I'm a puppeteer, and I'm called a puppeteer because I work with puppets. My own puppet act is called The Muppets." And they don't react to that, even though like they were just scoffing and just saw puppeteers beneath them. I don't know. It seems strange.
It's like we got the joke.
Slide right over that.
Yeah. Right.
I liked whenever they would show like the old Salmon Friends Kermit. Like I think it happened at least twice, where they're like, "Oh, there's Kermit." It's
hey,
like, well, Kermit. It is. It isn't. It isn't. I mean,
they recognize
Kermit
their
in the wig without the collar. Yeah, sure.
It's like seeing an old picture of your friend when he was in college.
I think it's perfectly plausible that Salmon Friends Kermit is like still not quite fully formed from Tadpole.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's
like,
just
as far as they're concerned,
right?
And then I liked when they showed the inchworm sketch, like all the when the big monster eats Kermit. All the characters go, "Whoa!" Like they weren't expecting it.
They don't actually show the monster eating him, though. They show him pulling up the monster's nose, and then the monster emerges, but they don't show the monster eating Kermit. I wondered if that was
still
a
like
choice.
It's
this would probably be too weird for the Muppets to see this monster.
It's still cool to like see a classic Muppet sketch like that, and then hear it with an audience, which we don't get very often because we tend to watch these things at home. So to hear like all the characters, like not that we want to laugh track for these things, but like we hear, the Muppets, we recognize these voices and they're all like, "Oh man, check that out." Like that's fun.
Right. Something other than just a generic laugh track.
Yes, exactly.
That's fun. Do you guys know what the clip, I assume this is Salmon Friends, but there's a clip of a bunch of hands wearing gloves and like one of them is on top of a TV.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I've seen that. I think I saw it at one of those like rarities screenings from from the Henson Legacy. I think it's a short film, like not the Ed Sullivan Show, but like a probably variety show like that. And it's all the hands are like that was. I don't think it was a TV. I think it was a radio, and they're playing different music and dancing to it. So that was
okay. Oh, actually, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it looks like a TV, but it's like an old timey radio that like one of those big standing ones.
Right.
Sure.
I should see if that's out there somewhere.
So then the biography cuts off after Timepiece, right? Before it, like presumably this film is going to go through his whole life, but Bean Bunny gets wrapped up in it. So it cuts off right after Timepiece and before, he becomes a mainstream success.
I think this was the first time that I had ever heard of Timepiece.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It must have been. And I was so intrigued, just the brief clips that they show. Just the gorilla jumping on a pogo stick and Jim Henson painting that elephant. It was so intriguing. I'm so glad that I eventually got to see the whole film.
Right. I was going to say, and now you can watch it like in pretty good quality on YouTube whenever you want.
Yeah.
That's why I actually bought Timepiece. I actually bought Timepiece on iTunes about 10 years ago.
Sure.
Just to have like a high quality copy of it.
Yeah.
Smart. Who do you think is a worse projectionist, Bean Bunny or the Swedish Chef? They're both quite bad at it.
The result is pretty similar.
The result similar, but you know who the best projectionist is? It's probably Scooter from Muppet Family Christmas, right? Isn't he running the projection?
Yeah, he does run the projection.
For Muppet Baby segment.
And it's in that case, it's Animal's fault that they can't finish watching the film.
It has nothing to do with the projection. It's just the screen.
The Muppets have a hard time finishing a film.
Is there a Tough Pigs article in this? Should one of us write the Muppets history with projectionists?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Why not? I don't have an idea beyond that. I'm giving that to one of you guys to write.
Right. So next, John Denver rocking the sickest mullet ever. 1990 era John Denver. He shows
and one of those cowboy shirts.
Yeah, he's like, it's a good look for him. He's like looks even more John Denver-y than I imagined he would.
It's very Rocky Mountain High.
It is. He shows up to introduce. He says that the Muppets use their sincerity and humorous irreverence to convey real information. And then Rizzo pops up to tell us that John Denver's real name was John Henry Deutschendorf Jr. And John Denver says, "What are you doing?" And Rizzo said, "Using my sincerity and humorous irreverence to convey real information," which I like. That's one of
my two favorite jokes in this.
It's one of the things I think.
And then John Denver's like, "Rizzo, can you please put on some clothes?"
It's also funny because that's essentially what the Muppets are doing in this entire special, is conveying information, but they don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's true. But so we start with the Sesame Street clip package. And actually starting with that pitch film with Ralph and Kermit, which is just like such a nice inclusion. They did not have to do that, but it's two of Jim Henson talking about Sesame Street.
What are we gonna do for a title? Open up new worlds, street. Hey, Ralph. Why don't you call your show Sesame Street? My entire career as a TV educator nipped in the... What was that? Sesame Street. You know, like open sesame. It kind of gives the idea of a street where neat stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I showed the special to a friend of mine in the 90s, and he pointed out that Kermit should be getting royalties from Children's Television Workshop for coming up with the name for Sesame Street.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of Kermit, all of the Sesame Street clips that we see in this montage have Kermit or Ernie in them, except one. Again, one is Grover doing over, under, around, and through. All the others have either Kermit or Ernie. And we also
is this not where the C is for cookie clip comes up?
Oh, does it? Oh, shoot, maybe.
I don't know. That might be later. I don't know.
Yeah, it would make sense for it to be here. I may be wrong. Anyways, it's not all Sesame Street. We get Kermit on Nightline, weirdly, like talking about bull markets or whatever,
teaching us what the market is.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I know, but it was a shock. And then we see Song of the Cloud Forest, a little bit of Dave Goelz as Milton the Golden Toad singing.
There's a lot of stuff in this that, like, as you said about Timepiece earlier, that, you know, it was like, oh, as a kid, I was like, I have no access to this and I really want to see it. But the one that really stood out to me for some reason was Kermit on Nightline. There was something about, like, it's Kermit and Piggy, they're doing something fun, and Kermit's wearing that cute little suit. And for years, for almost my whole life, it's like, God, I just want to see that thing. And now I've seen it, and I'm very grateful for that. Right. But that one, for some reason, it just like always stuck with me as like a holy grail of Muppet stuff to see someday.
There was another one of these sort of documentary. Was it the Great Performances episode where it has the clip
Fozzie talks about bull and bear markets,
and he's getting chased by a bull and a bear.
Yeah.
So that was a similar thing. Like, what is this? I have to see the rest of this.
Exactly. Right. Well, and this, like, we talked a lot in Muppet Family Christmas about how there was kind of this semi-continuity after Muppets Take Manhattan, that Kermit and Piggy just kind of seemed married and seemed like a couple. And in the Nightline clip that we see here, Piggy asks Kermit, "When are you coming home?"
Yes, that's very interesting.
Not when are you done? Not what are we doing after this? When are you coming home? Which is,
and he doesn't dispute it.
Startling to me. Yeah.
He doesn't say, "Wait, what? We don't live together."
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's great.
I don't know. I don't see a ring.
Well, what else? This I think is hilarious. John Denver says, sometimes the most important lessons Jim's characters taught us were lessons of the heart. And then it's a clip of himself singing with them on Rocky Mountain Holiday. It's just like, here's the most important lesson the Muppets have, singing with me on my TV special.
It's a very heartfelt song.
Oh, it certainly is. And it's a song that they did multiple times. Right?
That's true. Yes.
It's in Every One of Us, which is also on the Christmas album.
Also, like, It's in Every One of Us is definitely like the kind of thing that would be played at a funeral. And I don't know if that's why they chose this song, but like, there's definitely, you know, that's what I was thinking about when watching this clip in this special.
And that's this closes out this segment before the commercial break, I think, which they also seem to have chosen those moments very carefully to kind of like to end the segment on a certain note before heading into the commercial and then coming back with more silliness.
Right. And when we get back, actually the silliness is weirdly meta because Fozzie has hired a Dixieland band and they fall over and Fozzie is dismayed. But in real life, per Jim's request, a Dixieland band played When the Saints Go Marching In at his memorial service.
Yeah, that's a nice little, a callback or a nod, whatever
it's like
it is.
A nod to it. Yeah, it's interesting.
I like to
think
that
other than just one person.
I like to think that was like maybe Jerry Jewell and whoever else wrote the song, this special, being like Jim wrote one bit for this. Like Jim requested a Dixieland band for
like
this
special.
Is his idea. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's Jim's contribution.
Just a note from 2022, our more enlightened time. The word Dixieland is generally not considered a good name for the style of jazz anymore. The new ways that are suggested to refer to it are either traditional jazz or New Orleans jazz.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just to put that out there.
And Joe, you said Jerry Jewell and whoever wrote this, the credited writers are Jerry Jewell, Bill Prady, and someone named Sarah Lukinson, who has no page on Muppet Wiki.
Yeah, Sarah Lukinson, as far as I can tell, never worked with the Muppets before or after this, but she has a lot of credits on IMDb for like awards shows and similar sort of like retrospective thing, like the Kennedy Center honors. So she, I guess, knew how to put together.
I wonder if she didn't write the clip narrations and stuff.
Right.
You know, and Bill Prady and Jerry Jewell wrote the jokes and the Muppet stuff.
Right.
Huh. Interesting. We should write her a letter.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If she's still around.
Let's find her. Yeah.
But what happens next? Well, then, at this point, Gonzo, earlier having said he was going to go get whoopee cushions, shows up with a tap dancer who is a human-sized whoopee cushion and whose name is Whoopee Cushions. It's so silly. And then...
Very silly.
Wait, can I just say about whoopee cushions?
Please.
My favorite thing, and it's so stupid, is he starts to tap dance, but he makes little poop noises as he tap dances.
Hey, do you know why? Do you know what he's wearing? Do you know what he's wearing, Joe?
I know what he's wearing. Do you know what he's wearing?
Do you know? Do you know what he's wearing? Ryan?
I do know. Ryan, do you know? Ryan's
making a face.
Wearing. He loves this joke. Ryan is loving it. You guys can't see him right now. He's laughing. He's clapping. Ryan's doing a little dance. He loves this so much.
He loves it. He loves it. All right. Anyways, watch the 2011 Muppet movie to find out what whoopee cushion.
You get to get the punchline to our joke here. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that you're not even going to say it.
We're just going to let it. We're going to let it hang.
I'm saving it for when we talk about the 2011 movie. I'm doing a dang production number about it. All right.
Great.
Yeah, so, you'll do a callback to this episode. You get to talk to us. You're like, you remember? Yep. You guys remember?
You're like
3 years ago when we did that one podcast.
We'll try to make sure you're on that one, Joe.
Stay tuned, listeners.
All right, but so anyways, Whoopee Cushion's wife comes out, and Whoopee Cushion says, "This is my wife Joy. Her maiden name was Buzzer." So her maiden name was Buzzer, which means that her name is Joy Cushions, and they never say it.
Yeah, and I just remembered in the early-ish days of Muppet Wiki, I remember there was a pretty in-depth discussion about whether this character's page on the wiki should be called Joy Cushions or Joy Buzzer. Because it's never explicitly stated. Like, nobody ever says, this is Joy Cushions.
Right.
They say her maiden name was Buzzer, which implies that her married name is Joy Cushions. But ultimately, they decided to list her as Joy Buzzer on Muppet Wiki.
That's so good.
Yes.
Muppet Wiki is great. What a
they got
resource
integrity.
And what a community.
This character is also a hilarious performance by Kathy Mullen doing a voice that I can't think of any other character where she's done a voice like this.
All right, cut. Thank you.
Honey!
Oh, meet my wife. This is Joy.
Hi, how are ya?
Well, nice to meet you, Joy.
Her maiden name was Buzzer.
I guessed that.
Oh, look, honey, it's Ray Charles. Oh.
Yeah, you're right. It is a very funny performance. And she I should say she shakes Fozzie's hand and he gets electrocuted.
Right, which is not how joy buzzers work, by the way, as I was very disappointed to find out when I was like 12 years old.
You thought it was like give you that whole body Home Alone 2.
Yeah, because that's how you always see it in movies and stuff. They're like the, but then it's just like, it just kind of goes bzzz in your hand. That's it.
Right. Would you say that you were shocked to learn that, Ryan?
Yes, thank you very much.
I would say that it was probably, I would probably say that it was more of a dismay buzzer for you.
Right.
All right.
The disappointment buzzer.
Disappointment buzzer. But so next they see Ray Charles on the TV, and Ray Charles introduces a clip package that is one thing, and it's the immense emotional power of being green, which is such a nice thing to devote an entire clip package to, right? We start with Kermit singing it and then transition into Ray Charles himself singing it. Over clips, we see various clips of Muppet stuff. We see Jim walking around in his Kermit flipper shoes from the Gonna Always Love You music video, all kinds of stuff. But it's just like 3 minutes that's like, being green is pretty great, right?
It's also, though, it's a lot of like behind the scenes clips, and like specifically. And I was thinking about this, and like I'm really grateful that they put this in here because it really is important to see like Jim at work.
Exactly.
But what's interesting though is that this is almost kind of the end of that for a while. You know, we do get like some behind the scenes stuff over the next decade, but for the most part, like up and like especially after the Disney sale, it seems like they started hiding the puppeteers again, and they weren't showing that sort of thing, like someone holding a puppet being like, this is how it works. And
the two big exceptions after this were the Muppet Christmas Carol and Treasure Island both got half-hour TV specials, which are on the DVDs.
Oh, great. I mean, and that's great.
Puppeteers and footage from the set and everything, you know.
Sure.
But like you say, after the Disney sale.
Right.
Disappeared.
And that also, like the fact that you can name two of them over a decade is a little surprising. I mean, like that tells you something.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah.
But what happens next? We're back into it, and Fozzie, talking about dismay, my man Fozzie is dismayed that the production number is not coming along. He wants to do a biking number. He tells Scooter a biking number. And Scooter is definitely going to assume that that's what he means. No way that's the setup for one specific joke.
Scooter just says it. Okay.
However, like it makes a lot of sense, and I'm think they should have hammered this point in a little bit more. Is that the Muppets are known for riding bikes?
Oh, absolutely.
Like Kermit rode a bike in the Muppet movie. We got the big scene in Muppet, Great Muppet Caper, and it's like Fozzie could have been like, yeah, we did it in all those movies. Like you remember that? Of course you do.
Yeah, there is a person on a monitor coming up who specifically mentions that Jim Henson believed that all the Muppets can ride bikes.
Exactly.
Right. But then anyways, as Scooter walks away, Fozzie says it sure needs something. And that something is Piggy, who gets a big intro from the Penguins. And then she describes it as a grand entrance for my big tribute to Jim Henson.
She's the one and only beautiful girl, the one and only beautiful girl in the world.
So we've talked in the past about how every TV special the Muppets ever did, Piggy gets a big entrance. And here it is, another member of the Pantheon, another clip for the Miss Piggy grand entrance clip reel. The Penguins give her a big build up in this one.
Is this a real song? I forgot to try to look this up, that they sing. Is this just made up for the special where they sing she's the one and only beautiful girl in the world?
I don't know.
It sounds like
it should be a real song. Yeah, it doesn't sound like Piggy. I don't know. I'm going to look it up right now. Looks like this is a Rodgers and Hart song called The Most Beautiful Girl in the World.
It's from a musical?
Let's see. According to Wikipedia, it is a song from the 1935 musical Jumbo, which is, a musical about the circus. So.
Oh, cool. And you said it's by Rodgers and Hart.
Rodgers and Hart, yep.
Who is the titular most beautiful girl in the world? Is it an elephant? Because that would not be a good thing for the Penguins to be singing about Miss Piggy here.
I sure hope so. And the musical was made into a film called Billy Rose's Jumbo. So
Wow.
You can check that out. It starts. So presumably the Doris Day character in that is the most beautiful girl in the world, because Doris Day is the female lead in that picture. So,
and not
there you go.
Miss Yvonne, as we all know.
And
she's the most beautiful girl in Puppet Land.
And the world. We just say Puppet Land to keep her ego, keep your ego down.
Right. So there you go. I had to look it up on Wikipedia. Of course, a shout out / apology to our friends over at Muppeturgy, at least 2 of whom definitely knew what that song was without looking.
But we got there.
That's right.
Yeah, we got there.
So first of all, I want to shout out when we talked about one of Miss Piggy's previous appearances, big fanfare appearances like this. It inspired me to write an article for Tough Pigs about all of Miss Piggy's best entrances. This one definitely made the list. And then also how weird it is that Piggy's like, here's my big entrance for Jim Henson, and it's again backstage. This isn't like, here's my rehearsal that I'm showing you that I'll do later on the show. It was like, here it is. It's for the 6 of you who happen to be here.
Right.
Well, I guess they know that we're watching, because there are other moments where the characters sort of look at us or address us.
They've noticed we're watching too, if you will.
Right.
Fair enough. But the Muppet Show did that too, and they still knew that we were backstage. Like Kermit would say, think about that, folks, and look right at you. But that doesn't mean that there's an audience who's watching them right now. That's just a little fourth wall breaking.
Right. And actually Piggy doesn't get much to do in this special. She's not in it very much. But one of Frank Oz's great little touches in here is when Rizzo asks if she knows anything about Jim Henson, and Piggy goes, nope. And it's such a, like, she draws out the and then the nope is so emphatic that it makes me laugh.
I also really like Rizzo says, don't you think that's a little over the top? And Piggy goes, yes.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's a nice moment for her. Next, we get another clip package. This one, as I mentioned, is the only person who introduces a clip that didn't ever work with the Muppets. It's Steven Spielberg. It's film director
not before
Spielberg.
Or since. Yeah.
Right, not before or since. And it's kind of surprising to me, frankly, that his frequent collaborator George Lucas, who produced Labyrinth, isn't the person introducing.
Right, I was thinking that they could have gotten a guy who actually worked with Jim.
Yeah, because
maybe he wasn't available.
Because what he does introduce is a collection of clips from all the 80s fantasy projects. Your Storytellers, your Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, Monster Maker, all that kind of stuff. And which is great to see. I'm glad it gets its own clip montage here. And it's nice to see Spielberg. I was thinking, not Spielberg and John Denver are the only 2 guests in this who are younger than Jim Henson. And Spielberg was about a decade younger than Jim. He's 44 years old here. He's just a little baby.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to me that, like, he's, even at this time, this is pre-Schindler's List, pre-Jurassic Park, but it's post E.T., Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, and all that stuff. He's, like, unquestionably the most famous living director at this time.
Oh, yeah.
And here he is.
He's the guy.
Right. And here he is on this special talking about how great Jim Henson was, a person who directed 3 films and isn't really thought of as a film director. And it's legend. It's hit maker Steven Spielberg being like, check out that weird 80s fantasy stuff from Jim Henson. It's all good.
Right. It lends a certain credibility to it when they show all these weird clips. Like, if there's a sort of extended clip from the Hans My Hedgehog episode of The Storyteller. Right. This must have been baffling to anyone who watched this special and was like, oh, I want to watch this thing with the Muppets in it. And then here's this weird clip with this guy who, like, flies, and then he's a hedgehog, and then he turns into a person. And, like, and then, of course, nobody had seen The Storyteller. So, yeah, it just must have been very confusing for people.
It was. I remember being confused by this and thinking, what is this garbage? Because I was a child and I didn't want to watch Hans My Hedgehog.
I wanted to see Kermit it. I wanted to see all of this stuff. And then they show the Ultra Gorgon from the Monster Maker episode of the Jim Henson Hour. Like, yeah,
that thing still looks good. First of all, Spielberg, this must have been the highlight of his career to get to talk about Jim Henson for 30 seconds. It must have been. Like, he's done nothing else of note, I'm sure. The one thing that kind of stood out to me about this clip compilation, and maybe it's in all of them, but it really stood out here, is that the compilation starts with the Jim Henson Hour stuff and then goes to Labyrinth and Dark Crystal. And you would think that it would do it in the opposite order because that would be chronological. But
right, you'd think it would start with like when the single shines the triple sun or something from Dark
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's almost like I mean, as you said, most people had not seen the Jim Henson Hour here, but if they had, it'd be like, that thing that you just saw last year. And then we'll go back to like where that all came from. That might have made sense, but it still doesn't.
Right. So backstage again, Scooter has Beauregard bring in a Viking ship because, of course, Scooter thought Fozzie said a Viking number, which is, again, obviously you can see it coming a mile away, but totally worth it for we don't have a Schwinn, we have a Sven. And then a guy named Sven comes up and starts talking in mock Norwegian.
I also like that the Viking ship has little spatulas on it as oars.
Yeah, that's funny.
If I had a nickel for every Schwinn joke the Muppets made, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
You would, yeah.
Yeah, right.
But it's also weird to have a character speaking mock Norwegian and the chef is nowhere to be seen.
Oh yeah,
and like I didn't even notice the spatulas, but like that another maybe that was a deliberate nod to the Swedish chef. I don't know.
Yeah,
it just seems odd to me.
And I'm confident in saying mock Norwegian because in a moment after the Harry Belafonte clips, the Vikings are singing "Turn the World Around," and Gonzo says it's just one of those Afro-Norwegian numbers. So that's why I'm confident in saying it's mock Norwegian, not mock Swedish.
I like
not
that.
Not just because I'm a Norseman myself. I'm not just being ethnocentric. But anyway, speaking of Harry Belafonte, what happens next is that Fozzie walks up to the camera and says, "Please don't watch this. It's too embarrassing. Watch Harry Belafonte instead."
Does he say Harry Belafonte?
He says Harry Belafonte?
He absolutely does.
He just can't get that guy's name right.
No, I know. But what I love, so we're going to get an explicit Marx Brothers reference later in this special. But this feels very much like a particular moment in Horse Feathers when Chico is about to start playing the piano and Groucho approaches the camera, just like Fozzie does here, walks up to the camera and says, "I got to stay here. I got to see this, but there's no reason you folks can't go to the lobby until this all blows over."
Yeah.
That's good.
Which is like, it's not just that he approaches the camera, it's that it's also like, the act that I'm in is embarrassing. Please don't watch it.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I know you're not the biggest fan of Bob Hope, Anthony, but it also reminds me of it happens in at least one of the road movies with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, where Bing Crosby starts singing some boring song and Bob Hope looks at the camera and is like, "This might be a good time for you to go out and get some more popcorn, folks."
Yeah. Wow. Bob Hope stealing jokes from Groucho? I'm shocked.
Can you believe it?
No, but yeah,
like
anyways.
He's Gabe Kaplan or something.
He kind of is. I mean, here's the thing about Bob Hope. Bob Hope is Groucho Marx if his jokes weren't funny and he was a coward. Like it's like the same like stream of quips all the time,
Sure.
Just when confronted, Groucho doubles down and Bob Hope runs away. Like that's the main difference,
Yeah.
Sure.
But anyways,
more about Harry Belafonte though, please.
Harry Belafonte, he's sitting in a classroom wearing a suit, which I love that. That's great. And he introduces as only he could. He introduces the kind of like the worldwide reach and the humanistic focus of the Muppets, right?
This is the most serious montage.
Yeah. We see clips dubbed into other different languages. We see Kermit and Piggy in Russia. We see Big Bird in China. He says Sesame Street is seen from Spain to Senegal to Cincinnati. Which is that. And it's, again, like Harry Belafonte saying it, it sounds so cool. Like, Joe, I know you're an Ohio native. Cincinnati has never sounded better than coming out of Harry Belafonte's mouth.
Cincinnati has never sounded good at all, unless it's said by Harry Belafonte, or if it's preceded by the word chili.
Right. Of course.
He also says the Muppet Show became the most popular show in the history of television all over the world. He doesn't, cite any sources or talk about ratings or how many countries it aired in, but this is the kind of thing that I definitely latched onto and would like tell anyone who would listen when I was a young budding Muppet fan. Like, did you know that the Muppet Show was the most popular show in television all over the world?
And it still is, and I'm cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That means if it's that popular, it means that I'm cool. Because
Well, I believe
like
it was
what's
later.
popular.
It was later supplanted by Baywatch. So I don't know what that tells you.
It was later supplanted by Baywatch Nights, weirdly.
And then later on
remember that?
supplanted by Bay of Pigs Watch. I don't know how that one happened.
Yeah. Little known fact.
No,
But
Pigs
Anthony,
Watch.
like you said, like to see like the Muppet Show in other languages and Big Bird in China and Fraggle Rock's Message of Unity and Turn the World Around, like all these things one after another. Like, I don't know if I've ever really seen a compilation that's so densely packed of that style of like what the Muppets were doing in those days to like bring the world together. And like, it was like really like emotionally rewarding to me to see all that in one place. Like, I really enjoyed that clip compilation.
Agreed. Yeah, it's great. So it does end with Turn the World Around, like we said, which of course it is going to. Harry Belafonte is introducing it, and Turn the World Around is one of the greatest moments in the history of the Muppets. The listeners cannot see this, but Joe and Ryan can see right behind my head. I have the print of Kenny Durkin's great drawing of Turn the World Around with the lyrics surrounding the heads, which our friend Kenny Durkin made this, and you could buy it too, fans, if you like that sketch as much as I do. And Joe, you have the shirt, don't you?
I sure do. I bought that on a t-shirt. I think, is it on TeePublic, if I'm not mistaken?
I think he has a Redbubble store. If I
Redbubble. I think you're right.
We can.
So yeah,
but we'll link to it anyways.
yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, anyways, we come out of Turn the World Around. Like I said, the Vikings are singing along. And then as Gonzo's watching this, Rizzo comes up and says he's discovered who Jim Henson was. Now, Gonzo and Rizzo only have this one scene together in this special. But this scene is the start of the entire 1990s for the Muppets. It's the first time they've ever really interacted, which they're going to do all the time for the next 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
Did they not share lines together in Muppet Sick Manhattan in the diner?
I don't think so.
I don't think they really.
Because
you're probably
Fozzie
right.
says what a rat, right? And Floyd says the number for the Board of Health. And
Yeah. Interesting.
yeah. Anyways, Rizzo says that he's discovered who Jim Henson was. He signed their checks, so he was an accountant.
This is my other favorite joke in the special.
Sure, it's good. It's good. Oh, then he pulls up Gonzo's old paycheck, and the signature on the check looks like the Jim Henson in the Jim Henson Company logo, which I think is very funny. And
also, Gonzo, the check is there because Gonzo always forgets to cash those things.
Yes, but you're leaving out the best part of the joke, which is we artists and madmen are like that.
Right. Yeah, that's terrific.
Gonzo just saying that with a shrug is so good.
Yeah.
Love that. So then we get the more explicit Marx Brothers reference in the special. Rizzo introduces the Merrill Lunch Hunga Dunga McCormick All Accountant Marching Society, which, if you know Animal Crackers, the Marx Brothers movie, there's a law firm mentioned called Hunga Dunga, Hunga Dunga, Hunga Dunga, Hunga Dunga, and McCormick.
Joe and I, not long ago, were on an episode of the Tough Pigs podcast, Hubba Wah, and we were asked to name this group, and I buzzed in, and I got this wrong because I said...
Ryan, not to correct you, but this was my question to Evan, for me to get some extra points, and he did not get it right, but then I asked you just for funsies if you knew the answer. But this was my
question
I provided
that you came
question.
up with.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, well, my guess was something like the Merrill Lunch Hunga Dunga, Hunga Dunga, Hunga Dunga, Hunga Dunga Society, which was off, but it was just because I had that Marx Brothers joke in my head.
Right. Well, and Joe actually ran that by me before recording if I thought it would be a good question. And I did the same thing. I slapped on 4 Hunga Dungas, right?
I just wanted those points. Not that it did me any good, but...
No, you did.
I'm glad you remembered the most important one.
You got the points, though, at least. Yeah.
Oh, no. I got the points, but I lost the game. That's what I meant.
By the way...
Spoilers for that episode, I guess.
By the way, if any of you listeners out there like Muppets, you should watch Animal Crackers and Horse Feathers.
Yeah.
You will enjoy them. Marx
Yeah.
Brothers movies are a lot like Muppet movies in many ways.
It's true.
And not just for Hunga references.
Right.
A lot of these puppets in the Accountant Marching Society are from the Muppet Meeting films, which is appropriate because they all look very businesslike.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they walk in doing something that sounds, it's not, but it sounds an awful lot like the old business variety show sketch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that
yeah.
they used to do.
That's a good point.
You know, it's like a very similar tone.
I
to it. It's
remember
like repeating buzzwords.
I remember reading about the Muppet Meeting films for the first time in an issue of Muppet Zine, which was just a few years after this thing had aired. So I never, and like at the time, like for some reason, I got myself completely hooked on the idea of like, well, I have to have them. I have to see them, because I think it was because they were available to purchase and they were very expensive because they expected people, you know, like companies would buy them, not fans.
The idea is that corporations would buy them to show at meetings. Yeah.
Right. So because they were available, and I remember like telling my dad, I'm like, look, this is the thing that I really want. He's like, I'm not spending like $60 for a 5-minute video. Like, it's just not going to happen, whatever the price was. And so like I wouldn't have gotten this reference, but definitely made me think about like when I recognized them as the characters from the Meeting films. And then remembering this is 1990, I probably read about it in like 94, not too long afterward. It just made me think about how badly I wanted to see those things. It made me very sad at the time that it was a Muppet thing I couldn't have.
Yeah.
No.
I also do. I really like their chant or their song, whatever it is. And the fact that it ends with surtax, sales tax, excise 2, net worth, Dow Jones, Scooby Dooby Doo.
The smile on Ryan's face after he read those lines tells you how much he did, in fact, enjoy it.
It's great.
He almost liked it as much as the whoopee cushion joke.
Almost. I love the Merrill Lynch, Hunger Dunger, McCormick, All Accountant Marching Society.
I guess so. You're a big fan.
I am.
They're your favorite guest star in this special. But the next set of clips is not introduced by a guest star. It is introduced by a regular character. It's Frank Oz. And he introduced...
Frank Oz, the director of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels?
That's right. I guess his most recent film at the time of this would have been What About Bob, right? That would have come out earlier in 1990. But yeah, film director Frank Oz. He was friends with Jim Henson, as he says right away in this intro. He says we worked together for 27 years, and it's great. I don't know how off the cuff Frank's remarks are here. Probably not, but it feels more natural than the celebrity intros do for the most part. To me, at least. Maybe I'm reading that into it. I don't know, but he talks about, we see more behind the scenes footage here, which is nice. From Muppets Take Manhattan, we get a brief clip of Muppets and Men from the table read sequence in that special. And he talks about how Jim played all these great characters. And then weirdly, we see a montage of all Jim's great characters over like set. It's all wordless and it's set to Saxon violence. So I don't know, why they made that choice, but.
Well, I get like he talks about how weird the characters are. So I guess that's part of it, is to have this zany music playing.
Right. But and I would also see I Don't Want to Live on the Moon here and stuff like that.
Yeah. I would also guess that like they probably didn't have a ton of options for instrumental songs to use. Like there's a couple of instrumentals on the Muppet movie soundtrack, but like I'm thinking about like those Muppet Show albums and stuff like that. Like definitely no Sesame Street album had any wordless songs. So it's like you're kind of limited unless you're really pulling from the deep library. Yeah,
something that would really fit this kind of montage.
Right. Yeah, like the instrumental for Never Before Never Again or the
Animal Comeback Animal.
Song. Yeah, Animal Comeback Animal. Hope
that something better comes along. Right?
Yeah, hope that something better comes along. Yeah, none of those like fit that like fun tone that they're going for. But Sex and Violence one doesn't. I don't know. Nigel's in that. He was a Jim character at one point, even if not in this bit.
We also see Plubis, Cantus, Convincing John, and Bugsy Them in this montage, which I'm pretty sure I had never seen any of these characters when I first saw this special. So again, it was like, who are all these? I want to see all of this stuff.
Right, for sure.
Especially Plubis. Like when you see that character. He looks so weird and like unlike any other Muppet.
Right. I remember thinking that when we should say who Plubus is, he's from when the Muppets were on Saturday Night Live in the first season. He's Jim's character. I remember reading about those sketches in Jim Henson The Works.
Yes.
And thinking that they must be the greatest thing ever made because those puppets were so weird looking. And they aren't.
I thought the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. But there's just something about the design of those characters that like makes them seem like it must be great. Even now I've seen it, it isn't. I still want it.
I think there's a quote in the pages about those sketches in Jim Henson The Works. I want to say maybe Michael Frith is talking about when they were coming up with those characters, and he says something about like Jim Henson was crying so hard. Jim Henson was laughing so hard he was crying thinking about these characters. So I think that sort of may have raised our expectations years before we actually saw those sketches.
I mean, it's also the fact that like it got a big 2-page spread in The Works that made it feel really important to Muppet history.
Yeah.
And it is David Laser who says Jim was laughing so much he was crying. I always keep my copy of The Works right by my podcast recording studio.
Yeah,
that's great. For just such an occasion. Also, shout out to Christopher Finch, the author of that book,
the late Christopher Finch,
in this past week as we're recording this.
And speaking of Christopher Finch, if I can say a brief aside, when I read that he had died, it said that he had written books about Norman Rockwell. I have a book in my office called 50 Favorite Norman Rockwell Paintings or something in my office at school that was just like was sitting in the back room. And I was like, sure, I'll put this in my office. Sure enough, he wrote the commentary for it. It's like presented, it's like edited and with text commentary by Christopher Finch. And I had no idea until right after.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So he's all over the place. Did a lot of great work, you know.
I also wanted to mention they I think you mentioned this, Anthony. They show this clip from Of Muppets and Men of Jim screwing up a line at a table reading of a Vet's Hospital sketch. I wanted to figure out what sketch that was. It's the Vet's Hospital sketch from the Roger Moore episode where there's a Viking as a patient. And the line that he messes up is where Ralph as Dr. Bob is saying that he had an ancestor who was a Viking. He blundered his plundering and he was stupid with his pillaging, which is a tough line. Like that's a tricky line to get right on the first try. So understandable that he would mess it up.
Right. So anyways, then we're back to the backstage area where Fozzie is getting everyone ready for the big tribute number. You know, the Vikings are there. He tells the accountants, don't tap dance until we fly in the giant 1040 form, which I think is very funny. And then he just, all of a sudden, Deus ex papera, he finds a folder under the desk. And it's a note from Kermit saying that these are letters from Jim's fans. And do we know for sure that these are actual letters from fans?
He says they're real letters, so I assume that's an indication to us that these are actual letters that people wrote in.
Right.
Yeah, I would think that if they were fake, they would have been, I don't know, a little more. They would have felt written. You know what I mean?
They would have sounded like they were scripted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Also, like they really hammer in on the word "real." These are real letters when they say that line.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's all, of course, people mourning his death, and the Muppets are all shocked and surprised to find out that Jim died. And I don't know about you guys. This is when I start to cry every time.
Oh, this is the sad part. Yeah, this is where it really becomes.
Oh, this is the sad part.
Well, right. Yeah. But I mean, like I think you think of the sad, you think of just one person, right? But every time I watch this special, when Clifford starts solemnly reading one written by a little girl in that like deep, bass Clifford voice, I lose it. I lose it every time.
Well, and that one is like, I hope you feel better. It's, these are all very sincere sentiments that people have written in.
Dear Kermit, I hope you feel better. I will miss Jim Henson too. I hope this letter makes you feel better. I love you. Bridget Kerwin, Peabody, Massachusetts.
Right.
There are 3 points in this special where I started to tear up. The first actually came just before this. When Ernie's singing "I Don't Want to Live on the Moon," they kind of linger on that segment, or that song just a little bit in that part of the segment. And I don't know, just like thinking about Jim having just passed away, and we're listening to Ernie sing this melancholy song, and like that got to me. And then like immediately afterward, like you said, they start reading these letters, but like it's that moment where the Muppets are learning that he died, and it's like you knew this guy for years, for decades. Like he was literally a part of you. And Anthony, you and I were talking about this right before we started recording. You said that like the part that got you was Fozzie saying, whatever his line was, like I didn't know he died.
Fozzie just says, Jim died?
Right. And the part that got me was Gonzo saying, but we were just starting to get to know him. And like that line is so packed with emotion, not just because it's Dave Goelz, who thank goodness is still with us and has such a history with these characters, with this franchise. But like, it's true. Like we didn't get a lot of time with Jim Henson. We got like 25 years with him, almost 30. And now we've had all these years without him, where we every day we as fans ask ourselves, what would it have been like if Jim was still around? What else would he have done? What else could he have accomplished and created? And it's like, we were just getting to know him. That breaks my heart.
Yeah. It's Gonzo. That line comes from Gonzo. It comes from the performers, and it comes from the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
And of Gonzo, of all characters too, who's like, he's the weird one. And he's he's heartbroken. Poor guy, poor little buddy.
Right. Well, and Fozzie then decides to cancel the production number. He says that they just can't handle a tribute to Jim. If this is how people feel about him, all we have is dumb jokes and stuff. Robin. Can
I add right before you get to Robin? This moment, if it was any other character, and probably I'll also add, if Kermit was in the room, then Fozzie would have been the one to stand up and say, like, what are you going to do about it? Like, we're all going to stand up. We're all going to band together. He's going to have his rousing speech, because that's what Fozzie has done several times in the past.
We don't want the bad guys to win.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And Fozzie, for some reason, Fozzie is not a leader, and Fozzie has been the leader of this troop in Kermit's absence, and like they've been rudderless. And so for me, like knowing that stuff about Muppet character history is like it hits a little bit harder that Fozzie's trying really hard to keep everyone together, and he's like, screw it, like it's not going to work. And like like you're about to say, Robin coming in as the smallest voice in the room to kind of fix it. We're like, it's usually like Fozzie, it's usually you. That felt really profound to me as well.
Yeah. It's great. So then Robin, of course, starts singing Just One Person, which is the thing everyone remembers from this special. They did it on The Muppet Show with Bernadette Peters. This is not the first time they've done this song. I think people think this song was written for The Muppet Show or for this special, maybe. It wasn't. It's from Snoopy the Musical, the second Peanuts stage musical. And it's
the one that people kind of don't really talk about.
Right.
Because there was also You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, which people are more familiar with.
Well, and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown had a big high-profile revival. Kristen Chenoweth, famous TV and film actress Kristen Chenoweth won her Tony for You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. But Snoopy the Musical is by Larry Grossman and Hal Hackaday. And Larry Grossman had been the musical consultant on The Muppet Show for 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's why...
he worked on this special.
Yeah, right. So they're singing his song. Robin starts singing it. And then Scooter, and then Bean, and then Gonzo, and then Fozzie, and then everyone joins in. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. Like, we've only seen the Muppet Show gang backstage, but all the puppeteers who don't have a signature Muppet Show character get to play a character from another franchise, and it's never explained, and they're just there. And some of that is Big Bird. It's Carol Spinney as Big Bird, Martin P. Robinson as Telly, Pam Arciero as Grungetta, all these Sesame Street ones. Prairie Dawn, Fran Brill is Prairie Dawn. Moki Fraggle is there, guys.
Yeah.
I was going to say, there. Like the thing that gets me in that scene is you forget, even if you've seen the special, you forget that everyone else is going to show up. And it's like, there's already so many Muppets in this thing, from just the Muppet Show characters and the new characters like the accountants and the penguins and whatever. And like that second that you're like, wait a minute, like Prairie Dawn's there. And there's Moki.
That's
and
when
then
it
Big
happens.
Bird
Yeah,
comes in.
the camera starts to pull back, and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh, Prairie Dawn's there too." Oh, and Big Bird, and then all
It
these
gets
other
me
characters.
so hard in the heart. Like that's number 3 for me, where I'm like, I can't contain myself. And this is where the waterworks really come in. Is like being like, man, I'm like, it's that feeling of like, oh, I'm not alone in feeling this way. I'm not alone in remembering this guy and loving this guy and feeling sad that he's not here, because all of my friends are here too, and they feel the same way.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Gobo and Wembley are there too, kind of in the back on the balcony.
Right. So but like even more than, we've talked a lot on this podcast in the Muppets Take Manhattan, in Celebration of 30 Years, in Muppet Family Christmas, they like keep Fraggle Rock sacred. Fraggles don't show up at gatherings, right? Traveling Matt is traveling outer space, so he can go to the Celebration of 30 Years. He can go to Kermit and Piggy's wedding. He can just like hang around. Kermit and Robin have to go to Fraggle Rock to meet the others. They don't come to things. They're not part of the gang. But Jim Henson is dead, so you better believe that Kathy Mullen is playing Moki Fraggle. Like,
but not just that. Like,
I hadn't even
like
thought of that. Yeah,
Jim Henson has passed away, and so the Fraggles are like, oh man, our friends Kermit and Robin that we met at Christmas a couple of years ago, like they must be really sad. So let's come out of our Fraggle hole and sing this song with everybody. Yeah. They showed up for the funeral. I mean,
it's the only thing that could have done it, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. Like even more, like the fact that the Fraggles are there makes it even sadder. You know?
Is there another example of that? Like I'm thinking of like I can barely think of any in continuity examples of the Fraggle Five specifically interacting with anything outside of their world. You know?
Well, no, because I mean,
in those, what was it called? The Fraggle Rock On shorts. They use their doozer tubes to speak to celebrities, but it was just their voices.
Yeah. Did they interact at all with Ben Folds 5 in the Do It Anyway video? I don't think they did. I think they kind of passed each other in the window a bit, or like, you know, probably just showed up behind them while they're playing their instruments or something. But like even like recently, I interviewed a couple of the Fraggles for Tough Pigs when the new Back to the Rock episodes premiered, and like there was a deliberate disconnect. They said beforehand, like the Fraggles cannot see you, and they, as far as they know, you are another Fraggle. They're just hearing your voice.
I love that.
Go. Yeah. So like we kind of had that, they got to keep that veil up a bit for their own continuity. And so like, if I can't even do that when I'm like promoting their TV show, like for them to do something like this is one of the very rare moments that they're going to break that veil.
But yeah, they had to make an exception. Wow. Yeah.
It's huge. But then, of course, I said everyone is there, but everyone's not there because Kermit comes in.
Wait, sorry. Could I butt in real quick about something else I noticed about that, the group scene? I was curious if what other Jim characters were there. Because at one point I spotted Ernie and I was like, I wonder. So Ernie's there. Waldorf is in the balcony. And as we know, Craig Shemin performed Statler and Waldorf for this scene.
Yes, Craig Shemin has talked about how this was like an all hands on deck situation. He was performing Waldorf not well. He has admitted. And he also said that Duncan Kentworthy, the producer of many Muppet productions, is Statler in this, and Cheryl Henson and Bill Prady are also kind of up in that same tier.
They're there somewhere,
performing various characters.
So Waldorf is there, Ernie is there, and I didn't spot him at first, but then later on we get another camera angle, and Rolf is there. But like of all those characters, like that's it. 3 Jim characters before Kermit walks in the door.
Yeah.
Right.
As far as I can tell. Again, my version was very blurry, so maybe someone spotted, I don't know, Bugsy them there as well. Who knows?
Right. Guy Smiley. But so I said a minute ago that everyone is there, but everyone is not there. Because then the door opens and Kermit the Frog comes walking in. And Kermit the Frog sounds like Steve Whitmire now. Except, tell me what your guys' thoughts are. I don't think he sounds like Steve Whitmire. Like, I know it's him. I know it to be him. Just, it's a weird day. He's playing
they
the first time.
digitally altered his voice. Like, that's been on public record that it's digitally altered.
Right. Yeah.
But aren't there versions out there of like
They
altered version
re-recorded
and the
it.
non-altered version.
So they re-recorded it, or I don't know what they did, but both versions are both Steve Whitmire and they're both digitally altered, but they do sound slightly different. So I don't know which one any of us listen to, but like none of them are just Steve's voice doing Kermit with no effects on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
isn't that weird?
And it's especially weird because like what he says is he comes in and he says, "What a good song. I knew you could do the tribute for Jim, but don't you have something silly to end with?"
What a good song. I knew you guys could do the tribute for Jim.
Was it really okay?
It was terrific. You guys were great. But, do you have something silly to end with?
Silly? Do we have something silly?
And if you're like me, that line delivery is like burned into your brain because I think about that all the time.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think about I knew you could do the tribute for Jim all the time. And it's like you say, Joe, it's digitally altered, but it's also just strange because we know what Steve Whitmire sounds like as Kermit. And this isn't it. So like
no,
after this very emotional moment, like if Bob Cratchit came strolling in, you know, it would be one thing. It would feel more like his debut, but instead it just feels like, I mean, again, I cannot imagine your boss and mentor just died. You're taking over his most important character. Like, and you have a handful of lines at the end of the thing. It's not like he really gets to play Kermit here.
And they had announced I remember reading a newspaper article actually, like maybe a week before this aired, where they quoted Jane Henson saying that Kermit was going to continue. There was a different performer that was going to be playing Kermit. And she says something like, he won't quite be the same at first, but then little by little, he's going to get his personality back. So they were preparing people for the fact that Kermit was returning. Kermit's going to live on. Kermit's not going to sound exactly the same as you're used to. But, it's still, it must have been so much pressure coming at the end of this special about how important Jim Henson is to then be the new guy to like, okay, here's his most important character. Now it's you, go.
Right.
And like, here's the thing though, is like, and I'm just going to say it because like, I'm sure everyone who watches this thinks it. People definitely thought this back in 1990, but man, you hear that for the first time, especially after having just celebrated Jim and heard Kermit's speaking voice over and over again in these clips. It sounds awful. And there's nothing to hang on.
Different.
It sounds bad. I'm flat out saying it because like Steve's Kermit later sounds different. And like, I can differentiate between Jim's Kermit, Steve's Kermit, Matt's Kermit. Like these are different versions of this character performed by three different human beings. This one is like, it's got that weird robotic lilt to it. It's like weirdly like doesn't feel like Kermit's personality yet. And again, like it's only a couple of lines, but like, you know, the Muppets were just mourning someone 2 seconds ago. And now it's like, I don't know, like Kermit just kind of like, oh, good. I'm glad all my friends are having a good time. Like, it's very like, who is this guy? He's very Mickey Mouse. And and like in that moment, when he's kind of teasing, Anthony, you may have written down the exact line, but when he's teasing like, oh, there's more Muppet stuff to come. Don't worry. Yeah. It's like, do we want that? If this is what it's going to be like? And like, I mean,
did you feel that way when you were 8 years old? You didn't.
Yes, right? I did. I absolutely did because we knew this was going to end with, this is the new Kermit. This is what we're going to expect from now on. And it's like, but it's not, we don't want it. We don't like it. And like, here's the thing is, this is the young human being in me saying this, because like what I didn't know was, okay, well, you need to give it a few years. You need to like, let him get into the role. You need to get used to it. You need some really fun productions, and then you will get used to it. More importantly, he will get used to it. And then that will be Kermit, and that's that. And that's fine. But in that moment, there doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of confidence behind like, don't worry, it's going to be the same old Kermit the Frog. Like, you don't get any of that in this moment. It's just a scary thing for the future of the franchise when you know nothing about it.
Right. It's not, this is the same old Kermit the Frog. It's like, here's a little glimpse of Kermit to remind you that Kermit's going to continue. Like, Kermit didn't die too.
Right.
which is that, that's the message to us, is that all this, the Muppets are going to keep on going.
But I'm going to throw this scenario out to you, which I'm very grateful did not happen. But like if they basically replaced Kermit with a Mickey Mouse version of Kermit, and this was the first glimpse of that, and we ended up getting someone who was very much watered down, who was very, very like kid friendly and not representing the Kermit that we all love in any way, then we would be looking at this moment as being like, we should have known like in that second that this was not going to end well. And again, like not knowing what it was going to be, like this is all we have for the next 2 years, until Muppet Christmas Carol, because we didn't really get much of Kermit between those two.
Yeah,
right.
Then although, that's just our assumption, until we're proven wrong.
Right, but so let me say this from the year 2022.
Yes,
the fact that Muppet Christmas Carol is the next thing, and Kermit's not playing himself. He's playing beloved literary character Bob Cratchit, a character played by the likes of Gene Lockhart and David Warner in the past. Right? He's standing in the footsteps of giants. Right? Steve Whitmire is so good as Kermit the Frog in that movie, and I think it's because he has such solid material to work with. He doesn't have to try to reinvent Kermit. He gets to be Bob Cratchit. He gets to be a little Wembley-ish, frankly, at times. And I think that helped him so much. That
it's a transition.
Yeah. I completely agree.
And we'll talk about this a lot over the next year, obviously. But I think that might be what stopped what you're saying from happening.
I think you're right. And I mean,
although it's sort of, he definitely needed some happening a little bit eventually.
Well, and he needed more.
He becomes Mickey Mouse here in the 2000s.
Well, and like the fact that he goes kind of straight from Muppet Christmas Carol to Muppet Treasure Island, where he again does not get to Steve does not get to perform Kermit as Kermit for years after taking over this character, until Muppets Tonight, and even that was just like once in a while. Like he needed that practice. And basically, like I'm also saying all this to talk a little bit about Matt Vogel's Kermit, and a lot of people having that negative reaction to the new Kermit of like, this is not good. And it's like, well, right. I mean, I personally didn't think that, but a lot of people did, and that's okay. But we need to give these things time, to let them find the character, and then we will get used to it, and the character will be back again, and it will be a little bit different, and that's okay. But it's really hard. I don't know what they could have done to give us that confidence right off the bat. That's an impossible
especially not
task.
In the last, in the last 45 seconds of the special.
Right. Yeah.
Although weirdly, Steve Whitmire in this special, the 5 lines, that's so many lines Matt Vogel has had in 5 years. So
yeah,
just about.
Yeah. It's that's tough too.
Yeah, I mean,
like they need a new TV show or movie or whatever to like let these guys play, and neither of them got that. Like the beginning of their career as Kermit,
right? And I mean, we can talk about this another time, but like Muppets Now, Kermit's barely in it. Muppets Haunted Mansion, right. Kermit's barely in it.
Right.
Like the stuff that they have done, he's not doing much. Unlike Muppet Christmas Carol, where he gets a big song in the first 15 minutes.
Right.
Right.
But again, like you said, he doesn't get to be himself in Muppet Christmas Carol. Like both of these guys have to go years before they're going to get that chance to really play. It's just tough. And, I have very vivid memories of watching this for the first time and not feeling that confidence. And I don't know, I just felt like it was worth mentioning because a lot of people probably felt the same way.
Well, I would not go as far as to say that he sounds bad here, but he definitely just sounds different. Like, we've talked about this a lot on our website, on our forum, on social media, that if there had been Twitter when the special aired, people would have been so like up in arms about like, how dare this new person think that he can play Kermit? But it's the same kind of situation. He just sounds different, and he's going to adjust the voice a little bit, and eventually people will get used to it. And that's what's happening now. I
mean, the one thing that I disagree slightly with what you said is the fact that they felt the need to add that like robotic sounding
Yeah.
a course correction for the voice, which made it sound artificial. And like the new guy doesn't have the voice right, so we have to change it. We have to digitally change it later on, and that kind of felt like a vote of no confidence from behind the scenes. A little bit.
Yeah.
And thank goodness this is the only time, as far as I know, is the only time they ever did that. But what's interesting too is when Kevin Clash left Sesame Street, there's a couple, I couldn't even tell you what productions, but there's a couple of productions where they needed someone to do the voice of Elmo before Ryan Dillon was recast as Elmo officially. And it's other performers doing it, and they had to digitally kind of change it because they were kind of on a time crunch to get Elmo content out there. And people just like, nobody was doing the perfect Elmo voice just yet. And so to find those things and to hear them and to go, man, just like, it's a little like the audio is a little uncanny valley. Like it just doesn't sound right. And it's not because it's a different person doing it as much as it sounds like it has been digitally altered.
Right.
So do you think we would find this less weird if they hadn't digitally altered it? If it was just the new guy doing his best attempt at a Kermit voice, and maybe it doesn't sound like the Kermit we're used to, but it just still sounds like a person rather than a digitally altered person?
I mean, it definitely would have sounded weird because it's different, and it's the first time a character had really been recast, in Muppet canon at that point, with the exception of like Miss Piggy from the beginning of the Muppet Show, which doesn't
the
really
first
count.
major recast.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys, okay,
but
justice for Snuffleupagus, guys.
Oh yeah, I was sitting here going through my head like maybe there wasn't, but yes,
right.
You're right.
Yeah, Telly, Grungetta, all those folks.
Mm-hmm.
But like no, but I think looking back at it, if it had not been digitally altered at all, then I might not have been triggered to have these memories as much, because it would sound like Steve's Kermit, but it doesn't sound like Steve's Kermit or Jim's Kermit because of that.
Right. It's some other thing.
All right. So that seems like a good place to wrap it up.
Well, I was just going to say,
Anthony's like, shut up about the voice already. Good God.
After reading that newspaper article that I mentioned, I had it in my head for some reason, I guess because I was a dumb young kid, that they were hiring somebody new to play the new Kermit, like somebody who had never worked with the Muppets before. So when I watched this on TV, I was like trying to look at all the performer credits to see, like, could I figure out which of these names is the guy who's playing the new Kermit? But at that time, I didn't know the names of all the performers anyway. Like I had heard of Frank Oz, I guess, and that might have been it. So I was looking like, oh, who, like, maybe it's Kevin Clash. Yeah, maybe that's the guy. That's probably the guy. That's probably the new Kermit. So I had no idea what I was doing.
Right. I remember reading a review of Muppet Treasure Island when I was 11, which described the performer of Kermit as skilled Henson imitator Steve Whitmire. that has stuck in my brain for 25 plus years for whatever reason.
Amazing. Yeah. The last thing I wanted to point out in the actual content of the special, after Kermit shows up and the Muppets are all celebrating, so Fozzie, like, he cues the final number, the big production number, and two things. Number one, I assume this is supposed to be a final number, and we have not seen like a number. Like they didn't like send anything out to the stage that we don't see. Like this is like, I don't know who the show is for them doing, or if there is a show.
Through the whole thing, they've been saying that it's a tribute number. That's what they're putting.
They're just doing one number. They're doing one song and dance or something like that for an audience, and then they're all going home after 5 minutes. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The other thing being, Fozzie's like, cue the number, and then all the Muppets just like start cheering and dancing, and like there's no number. There's nothing goes on stage. They don't tell us what the number is. It's just like, do a thing. Great, we did it.
Yeah, it's just everybody like dancing around.
Yeah, going woohoo,
waving their hands. Yeah.
Which is actually, like, you talk about like a harbinger of things to come. That is, because we're going to get a lot of things over the next 30 years that are just kind of like, here's some content. We're throwing content at you.
I mean,
here's
I hate
a
to
Muppet that you recognize acting silly.
Yeah.
I hate to bring this up because it's horrible to talk about it, but in the Lady Gaga Christmas special that she did with the Muppets, like all those numbers that she did with like one or two exceptions, it's just like, what if Lady Gaga sang a song and the Muppets wiggled? And it's like, that's all that's happening. She's singing a song, and there's Walter dancing, and Walter's dancing, and Walter is dancing, and the number's over. And that's it. You know?
Well, and of course, the sad truth. I mean, we talked about not covering this special before we did decide to cover it. And the reason to not cover this special isn't because it's not worth talking about. It's because it's sad that Jim Henson died. Right?
Right.
And that's going to be the subtext of everything we talk about on the rest of this podcast until we're done. Like, there's good stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's we have 5 movies left, and I think 3 of them are generally very good. I would qualify 2 of them as excellent, in fact. But none of them are as good as the Muppet movie, No. And it's like, no matter what else we have to say, it's always going to be weird, because especially like now in the 90s, Jim and Richard's characters, like a lot of them just aren't going to be there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And like Frank Oz is going to kind of slowly disappear and then eventually turn into Eric Jacobson. And all this stuff is going to happen. And this is where it starts, like up until now, all 3 movies, most of the specials is just like, the Muppets are great. I love talking about Muppets. And there's always going to be something missing for everything else we talk about forever. And that's why it's sad to talk about this special. Not because we don't like the Accountant Marching Society.
Is this your way of announcing your retirement from this podcast, Anthony?
No, but I do think that the discussions will fundamentally be different from now on.
Yeah, they have to be. Yeah.
You're right. Although I will say, as an avid listener to this podcast, the entertainment does not necessarily come from what we would be seeing on screen if we were watching it all together, but from the commentary. So even the worst of the Muppets is going to be entertaining for us to listen to.
Right. No, you're right. And honestly, I think we should probably just bring this one to a close unless either of you have any other thoughts before we go.
A couple of quick things. First, Carol Spinney's name is spelled wrong in the credits. They spell it Carol. That's happened a few other times.
Yeah.
Also, the original airing of this on CBS ended with this tag with Gonzo encouraging us to read books. And then he suggests 2 books recommended by the Library of Congress, which are The Muppets Movin' Right Along by Guy and Brad Gilchrist, which is kind of funny because that is a collection of comic strips.
Yes.
Which counts as reading.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. Hey, take it from your friendly school librarian. Comics are books. Reading comics is reading.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Well,
I mean, there were a few other, like, mostly text-based biographies of Jim Henson at this point, like for younger readers. And then the other one that he mentions is Of Muppets and Men, The Making of the Muppet Show by Christopher French, which of course is like essential reading and definitely was at that time for Muppet fans. And then
it was incredibly hard to find, by the way. Like that was something I searched for most of my life until I found, because it was like out of print, and like my library didn't have it. Like it was just it was a hard book to find. So come on,
I wonder if it wasn't easier to find in 1990 though.
I can only assume it would have.
It was only
all
9
I
years
know
old,
is that in 1990 my library did not have it. That's all I could tell you.
Sure.
Yeah.
But they did have the Muppet Show book. Yes.
Mine had both of those.
So Gonzo lied to you when he said you could go to your local library or bookstore and read all about it.
I could read all about something, but not that one. No, unfortunately.
And then also, did you know that this was nominated for multiple Emmys and it won one of them?
No.
This was nominated for Outstanding Variety Music or Comedy Program. It did not win that. It was nominated for Outstanding Writing in a Variety or Music Program for Jerry Jewell, Sarah Lukinson, and Bill Prady. It was nominated for Outstanding Achievement in Music Direction, which is cool because there's not a lot of original music in this. Like there's just one person.
There's the Marching Society song.
That's true. And there's the one Only Beautiful Girl.
Oh, you mean like originally recorded music? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. And then it won for Outstanding Editing for a miniseries or special multi-camera production, which there's so many clips and stuff that they cut together. So it definitely deserved that Emmy.
Right. And in those days,
That's
you had
all.
to physically cut them together. Also, like you're not.
Yeah, they were cutting
You're not just like
videotape, I guess.
moving clips around in Final Cut or whatever. You know.
No, yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah. But all right. So in that case, that brings us down to the end. And next time you hear from us, I promise you, we will be talking about the first 2 minutes of Muppet Christmas Carol. And then we will talk about the rest of that movie in 2-minute chunks weekly. That's what's going to happen next. I promise.
Man, I cannot wait. I legitimately can't wait. I'm very excited.
You'll probably be in one or more of them.
Oh, do you promise?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
All
what a
right,
Christmas gift it's going to be.
The only problem is that everybody that we've asked about being on the podcast wants to be on the 2 minutes that cover When Love Is Gone or It Feels Like Christmas. And we can't have everybody on the same 2 episodes. So
yeah, but
that's not my problem.
Stay tuned to see how we figure that out.
We'll get it sorted out. Yeah, it'll be fine. But that's it. We're done. So until then, you can always read Tough Pigs on the internet. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can support us on Patreon if you feel so moved to do. Thank you, as always, to Morgan Davy for designing our logo and to Stacy Rosen for writing our theme music. You can follow me on Letterboxd at Zeppo Marxist. You can follow Ryan on Letterboxd at Movies Are Neat and on Twitter at me, Ryan Rowe. Joe, where can our listeners find you on the line?
You know, if you really, really want to, you can follow me on Twitter at Joe Hennes or on Instagram at Tough Pigs Joe. But I highly recommend that instead you follow the Tough Pigs social media accounts because all I really do is retweet that stuff. So just, so cut out the middleman.
You think that people should just consume the Tough Pigs social media, if you will?
I think that it should all be consumed heartily.
All right. That's great. All right. So see you next time. We'll see if it feels like Christmas. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Call back.
I know. That's what I was.
I know.
My mind is racing, but nothing's coming.